Welcome into the show, Steeler Nation. My name is Jack Sperry, and today we're going to be breaking down my 2.0 version of the perfect Steelers offseason plan. You guys love the first edition of this kind of segment that we do on the show, so I thought I'd bring it back here, and it's going to be fantastic. But first, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Here are a couple reasons why. We have Steelers videos literally every day, Monday through Sunday. We put up at least one Steelers video a day. We do a weekly live show on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel for that if you want those weekly live shows. And then we try to make this as interactive as possible. We're trying to be the most interactive YouTube channel for Steelers fans out there. We do weekly mailbags. We get you involved. We do everything that we possibly can to have your voice heard on the show. And then also more subscribers equals more videos, okay? So if you subscribe to the channel, you get all your friends to subscribe to the channel. That means more money for Chat Sports, right? Chat Sports sees that, and we're like, let's send videos this direction towards the Steelers fans because this is where it's at. And then finally, it's 100% free, guys. It costs you nothing to click that subscribe button right now and that like button for that matter. So go ahead and like the video while you're at it. But we try to provide comprehensive Steelers news and rumors content for you here all off-season long, all season long. We try to bring it every single day. So go ahead and click that subscribe button right now. All right, so we're starting off here. According to Spotrac, it's trying to adjust for the new league salary cap. It's kind of complicated how that works, but they're projecting that the Steelers will start with just over $300,000 in cap space, which obviously isn't much, so we need to create some room. So first, let's do a restructure. The one restructure that I think will happen this offseason is Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's owed over $60 million over the next 4 years, so there's a lot of cushion there. So what I would do, I would convert $6 million of that into a signing bonus, which then adds $4.5 million in cap space for 2023, because that $6 million in that signing bonus gets distributed over the next 4 years. So you save $4.5 million of that cap space for 2023. But I just love Minkah Fitzpatrick, right? I love him. I think that it's better to kind of make a little bit more room here. You got to re-sign some players. If you're the Steelers, you got some free agents that you might want to go get. I think that restructuring Minkah now, you can always restructure him again next year as well. I think that this makes sense for the Steelers to make sure they have the best roster possible in 2023. So here are the players to give us some more room here, players that I'm cutting. William Jackson III, it's all but certain he is going to be cut. You save over $12 million in cap room by cutting him. That one's pretty easy. Then you got Chukwuma Okorafor. Saves about $10 million there if you cut him, if you make him a post-June 1st cut. That's what I'm doing here. Save $10 million there. Then you got Mitchell Trubisky. I think that if he's willing to take an extension and kind of lower that number, that cap hit number, I think that he stays on as the Steelers' backup quarterback. I don't think he's going to want to do that. I think he wants to get out of Pittsburgh, so the Steelers save $8 million by cutting him. Then you got Montravius Adams, did not play well this past year. You save $2.5 by cutting him. And then Olszewski, Killebrew, not great players in my opinion. You save $4 million combined between the two of them. So you save quite a bit of money if you're the Steelers. And then there's some other players that could be cut, but I'm not cutting in this scenario. I don't think they're going to get cut. Myles Jack, he is a big price tag for somebody that didn't grade all that well last season. You pay this guy a lot of money to be your linebacker one. He didn't necessarily play all that great. So you could save $11.25 million there by cutting him, but I think that they're going to want a veteran presence in that linebackers room. I still think Mike Tomlin believes in this kid, or he's not a kid anymore, he's a vet, but I think that he's a good player. I think that he can show that he's a better player than he was last year. It was the first year in a new system. He's learning the ropes. I think that he'll be back. And then Ahkello Witherspoon, a player that a lot of Steelers fans are not happy with right now because he just wasn't good in 2022. He was terrible. He was dealing with a hamstring injury throughout pretty much the entire part of it. If you know anything about hamstring injury, it really limits your speed, and Ahkello was just getting burned time after time after time when he was in the game and injured. You could save $4 million by cutting him, but he's also had some really good seasons in this league. I think that he's the type of corner Mike Tomlin likes. I think that he'll end up keeping him. Then you got Levi Wallace, a guy that I don't think particularly fits too well in the Steelers system, and you could save $4 million by cutting him. But I think the Steelers are the type of team that likes to keep their players in-house as long as possible. So unless they have to cut him, I don't think they will. And then Arthur Maulet's another guy that could go. He's kind of a smaller guy. In one-on-one coverage, he's not all that great, but he's a dynamo, and I think he's going to stick around and be that backup nickel, in my opinion. So with TJ Watt on the field this past season, the Steelers' defense was excellent. So that's why I'm keeping guys like Myles Jack, Ahkello Witherspoon, Levi Wallace, because the Steelers know that they can have success with those guys on the field. Maulet's another one, too, played a lot this year. They're number 1 or number 2 in the league in defensive stats when TJ Watt was in the game, right? Number 2 in sacks, number 1 in takeaways. They're fantastic when TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith are wreaking havoc on the edges. Of course, Minkah Fitzpatrick, what I like to say about him is that he fucks shit up from that free safety position. He's, in my opinion, the best free safety in football, and I really think that this defense is going to be really, really good in 2023. But let me know in the comments section right now, what players should the Steelers cut this offseason? Okay, it could be, you could add Myles Jack to your list. You could do whatever you want here, but go ahead, name all the players on the Steelers that you would cut for 2023 in the comments section right now. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So whenever you get an ad break here on the show, go ahead and go to the comment section, find that pinned comment, and answer today's question. So now these are the players that I think the Steelers are probably going to re-sign. I think Cam Sutton is their top priority. I don't know if $7.6 million per year is realistic, but that's what Spotrac.com currently has his market value, so I am going to take that. Then you got Terrell Edmunds, 2 years, $5.4 million per year, has great chemistry with Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think he's a good fit for this system. He's a good blitzer. I think that he comes back as well. Larry Ogunjobi, I'm going to bring back on a 1-year deal for $4 million. I think he's a great 5 technique. Well, maybe not a great 5 technique, but he is a solid player, a solid starter, and there's already some really great studs on the Steelers' defensive line. You don't need to go crazy on the defensive line if you're the Steelers. Devontae KZ, a rotational safety, really played well for the Steelers in that 3 safety package this year. I want to bring that back in 2023. Then you got Robert Spillane, Derek Watt, Zach Gentry. Gentry, a big one because he's a blocking tight end. He goes well with Pat Freiermuth, who's more of a receiving tight end. Same thing with Connor Heyward. Derek Watt, a fan favorite, bringing him back on a pretty hefty deal for a fullback, but I think it's worth it. And then Robert Spillane on a $2 million deal to make sure that that linebacker position is at least in a pretty decent spot with Myles Jack and Spillane coming back for next year. All right, guys, coming up here, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about my offseason plan, but first let's have a word from our sponsor at Athletic Greens. I drink Athletic Greens I drink AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted more sustained energy throughout my day and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. AG1 combines all of your key health products in one convenient and tasty beverage. And in my line of work, guys, sometimes you have to put in those long hours. So AG1 helps me feel energized and sharp so I can be at my best no matter how busy my schedule gets. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be any easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix one small scoop of AG1 with 12 ounces of water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. Easy, simple. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day, which is definitely cheaper than the Starbucks you're drinking every single morning. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients, which of course is a win-win for you and your health. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplemental routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. The link is in the description and comment section of today's video. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about free agency. And I don't have the Steelers going ultra flashy moves here in free agency because I don't think that's the Steelers' style. I don't think that's what they're going to do this offseason. But the biggest contract that I have them signing is Jacoby Brissett. 1 year, $4 million to come play as the backup quarterback to Kenny Pickett. I think that if, God forbid, something that happens to Kenny Pickett, Jacoby Brissett is the type of guy that can come in, play in Matt Canada's system, and win football games. I think Mitchell Trubisky is the type of guy that can do that as well. But A, I don't think he wants to be in Pittsburgh. And B, he's way too expensive. Jacoby Brissett, you save some money at the backup quarterback position here with that $4 million contract. Linval Joseph, somebody that's a veteran, someone that's been a run stuffer in the league for a very, very long time. I still think that he can play well. He's playing in the Super Bowl this weekend. Goes to show you as the nose tackle for the Eagles, and I would sign him to a $1.5 million contract. I think he'll be very, very affordable for the Steelers, and I think that although the Steelers will probably be looking defensive tackle in the draft, we'll get to that in my mock draft in a little bit, I think they want to add a veteran presence there, a nose tackle, to make sure they're solid there come opening week. And then you got Jawan James, someone that can be a rotational swing tackle. You're getting rid of Chukwuma Okorafor in this situation. You still have Dan Moore Jr., but you're probably going to be adding another offensive tackle in the draft. You want to get someone that can play either left tackle or right tackle, someone that's more of a swing tackle, backup tackle, but is solid. You can get him for $1 million. That's who I would bring in. All right, and after this, guys, the cap space is pretty solid here. You got $14.38 million. You might be asking yourself, Jack, why aren't you spending money on like a linebacker, like a TJ Edwards or a Tremaine Edmonds or maybe a David Long, right? At the end of the day, guys, the Steelers need to make some room for Alex Highsmith, who they are probably going to extend this offseason. He's expected to make upwards of $17 million per season in his new contract, and right now he's making just over $2 million. So you got to make some space there, that kind of a buffer for when that extension comes forward. Alex Highsmith is, it's not going to completely break the bank for you, right? You have a couple of one-year contracts. That's going to help you out a bit once this extension comes through. But what I would give him is, I hope it's 2 years, $17 million per season. I hope it's not too long, and I hope that it's not too much. I hope it doesn't get into that $20 million range. In my opinion, I think 17 is a pretty fair asking price. That's about in that top 15, top 10 range of edge rushers in the National Football League. I think that's about what he's worth. And what this means, guys, is that this $17 million cap hit would not apply to 2023. It would kick in at 2024. So the Steelers would have one more cheap year of Alex Highsmith, and then they would have 2 years in a row of pretty expensive Alex Highsmith. So I think this is the best deal for everybody involved. I think this is what ends up happening. But let me know in the comment section, what should the Steelers do with Alex Highsmith? Should they trade him or should they extend him? Type T if you think they should trade him, clear that extension off the books, or type E for extend if you think he should stay with the black and gold. All right, so now the moment of truth here. We've gone through everything else. We've gone through free agency. We've gone through cuts. We've gone through everything. Now it's time to build through the draft like the Steelers have been saying that they're going to do. And this is what I have them doing for the first 5 rounds of the draft. First pick, Broderick Jones, offensive tackle. He's getting a little bit slept on because he is a bit on the smaller side, and his foot quickness isn't as good as you would maybe want it to be, but he's a former 5-star athlete. He was that for a reason. He's got long arms. He is a mauler in the run game. He did not allow a sack in the 2022 season with the Georgia Bulldogs, the national champions. I think that he's going to be a very good left tackle in the National Football League. And with the Steelers, I think trying to establish the run a bit more in the future, Broderick Jones is perfect for them. That's who I have them taking if he makes it to pick 17. Then in round 2, I'm hoping that Cam Smith falls to the second round. This cornerback class is loaded, which means that a lot of these teams are going to be trying to address some of their bigger needs earlier on in the draft in the hopes that they can steal a cornerback in the later rounds. So Cam Smith, someone that's a little bit smaller, in a former mock draft, I actually said he was 6'4". He's not 6'4". When you look him up on Google, it says he's 6'4", but he's actually 6 foot, so he's a little bit undersized actually, but he's one of the best man and zone instincts cover corners in this year's draft class. Out of all the film that I watched, other than maybe Devin Witherspoon, Cam Smith probably got his hand and arm on the ball more than anybody else, and then he's also physical, man. He lays it on people. Then you got Keanu Benton, really good nose tackle of the future to work behind Linval Joseph. Drew Sanders, a blitzing extraordinaire in round 3. And then you got Xavier Hutchinson, which is the slot wide receiver that I have them taking in the 4th round to give this offense a bit of a different flavor than Calvin Austin III and have some variability on offense. And then in the 7th round, I hope I'm not being too greedy here, but I have B.J. Thompson falling to the 7th round, where I have the Steelers taking him. Right now, he's not getting as much buzz as I thought he would coming out of the Shrine Bowl. I've seen some practice film of him at the Shrine Bowl where he is absolutely insane. That first step is incredible. He's a former defensive back, so he's got ball skills. He knows how to play in zone coverage, so he's going to be fantastic as that outside linebacker that occasionally comes back into coverage. I think that this guy's got the size, he's got the length. He just needs to get some refinement. He doesn't know many pass rush moves. He doesn't have an arsenal of moves. He needs to learn at that point of the position, but I think that he's an incredible athlete, an incredible prospect. If he's there in the 7th, go ahead and take him. Then I have Stetson Bennett in there, and the reason for that is the Steelers roster is getting pretty expensive coming up here, guys. Like, you got TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith's extension is coming up in this scenario. You got an extremely expensive defense and roster. You don't want to be spending a ton of money at quarterback, right? You already have a rookie contract with Kenny Pickett, but then instead of paying $4 million for a premium backup like Jacoby Brissett in future years, you can get a guy like Stetson Bennett, who's somebody that's going to be a really solid pro, someone that's going to carve out a career in this league as a backup, and you can win games with, in my opinion. He's really accurate. He's great mental processor, good downfield vision. He's a good athlete. I think he's going to be a really good backup quarterback, and you pay him almost nothing, so you have even more money to go get free agents in future years. All right, guys, so in this hypothetical situation, I have Kenny Pickett, quarterback, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren at running back. You got Diontae and GP at outside wide receiver. You got two different flavors of slot receiver in Calvin Austin III and Xavier Hutchinson. You got Zach Gentry, the blocking tight end, and Pat Fryermuth and Connor Heyward as your receiving tight ends. You got Broderick Jones to be your new left tackle, and then you move over Dan Moore Jr. to right tackle. The rest of the offensive interior is the same. And then on defense, you bring back Alex Highsmith, that dynamic duo of Watt and Highsmith. You bring back Ogunjobi to be a solid 5 technique for you while Marvin Leal tries to move his way up the ranks. Of course, you got Cam Heyward. Should have been an all-pro this year. Fantastic player. Then you got Linval Joseph and Keanu Benton as those one techniques, see who wins in camp. And then you got Miles Jack Spillane. You drafted Drew Sanders. Hopefully that Mark Robinson can move up the ranks there as well. And then at cornerback, you got Cam Smith to go along with Akella Witherspoon and Levi Wallace on the outside. Whoever the two best players there in camp win those jobs. And then you got Cam Sutton in the slot. He can also play outside if you need him to. And you still got Arthur Maulet that can be a backup nickel if you need to kick Cam Sutton outside. And then you got Minkah Fitzpatrick, Terrell Edmonds, and you still have Devontae KZ to formulate that 3 safety package that had so much success in 2022. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this off-season plan. Go ahead and grade it for me in the comments section. A, B, C, D, or F. I think that with this roster, the Steelers can not only compete for an AFC North title with teams like the Bengals and the Ravens, I think that they can compete in the AFC playoffs. I think they can. I think they could beat anybody on any given day with this roster. Lots of great players. I think the defense is going to be fantastic. Hopefully, Kenny Pickett progresses from year 1 to year 2. I think this would be a fantastic fit. So go ahead and put your grade of my offseason plan in the comments section.